United States Marshals have physically seized Donald Trump's iconic Boeing 757 at the airport, enforcing a court order to satisfy outstanding judgments totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. This afternoon, federal agents took physical possession of the aircraft just as the former president arrived to board it for business travel, marking a stunning escalation in the legal enforcement against him. We are witnessing the raw power of the judicial system colliding with a billionaire's lifestyle, and the result is the total loss of a $100 million symbol of success. If you want to understand the reality behind the headlines, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now, because we are breaking down the financial and legal mechanics that the mainstream media often misses. This wasn't a temporary freeze or a warning. This was a methodical judgment enforcement where creditors with valid court orders requested a writ of execution, and the courts authorized U.S. Marshals to seize high-value assets to pay off debts. Warren Buffett, the oracle of investing, who has spent 7 decades building Berkshire Hathaway, has weighed in with a brutal truth that explains exactly what we are seeing. Buffett noted that assets on paper mean absolutely nothing when creditors come calling with court orders. When your liabilities exceed your liquid assets, you are fundamentally insolvent, regardless of how much wealth you claim to have tied up in real estate or other illiquid holdings. Let's break down exactly what happened on the tarmac, because the sequence of events was executed with federal precision. According to reports, the court order authorizing the seizure was issued earlier this week after creditors identified the Boeing 757 as a valuable liquid asset that could be sold relatively easily compared to real estate. The Marshals coordinated with airport authorities to confirm the aircraft's location and timed the seizure to ensure the plane could not be moved to evade the order. When Trump arrived at the airport with his security detail, expecting to fly to a business engagement, he was met by multiple deputy U.S. Marshals wearing their distinctive jackets. They presented the writ of execution to airport personnel and Trump's staff, making it clear that the legal authority was absolute. The Marshals informed Trump that he could not board the aircraft, that it was now under federal control, and that he had no further legal right to access, use, or control the asset. This is not just any plane. We are talking about a commercial-sized airliner customized with gold-plated seatbelt buckles, a master bedroom suite, and lavish common areas, with a value estimated between $80 million and $100 million. It is the crown jewel of his public image, and in an instant, it was taken to be sold at auction to the highest bidder. Trump was forced to make alternative arrangements, presumably flying commercial for the first time in decades, while the Marshals secured the aircraft to prevent interference. To understand why this is happening, you have to understand the difference between a freeze and a seizure. A frozen account is still legally yours, you just can't touch it temporarily. A seizure is a permanent transfer of ownership. The aircraft is no longer Trump's property. Legally, it now effectively belongs to the creditors who will sell it to recover their money. This happens because a court judgment is a legal debt with the same force as any other obligation. If a debtor refuses to pay voluntarily, the creditor has the right to use the state's police power to collect by force. The Marshals are not making judgments about fairness. They are simply executing an order to seize specific property, just as they would repossess a car from a regular citizen who stopped making payments. The only difference here is the scale. Instead of a $30,000 sedan, it is a $100 million jet. The legal principle remains identical. If you cannot pay your debts from liquid resources, your assets get liquidated. Warren Buffett's analysis here is critical. He explains that solvency isn't about total assets, it is about liquidity. If you owe $500 million in judgments and your billions are tied up in buildings that take months or years to sell, you are insolvent when the bill comes due. The seizure of the jet proves this insolvency, because if Trump had the cash, he would have paid the judgment to save the plane. No billionaire allows their private jet to be seized by federal agents if they have the ability to write a check. The operational impact of this loss is devastating for the Trump organization. Business travel experts point out that managing a far-flung empire of properties is nearly impossible using commercial aviation. Trump cannot visit 3 cities in different states in one day on Delta or United. He is now subject to flight schedules, delays, and the massive security headache of moving a former president through public terminals. Every trip he takes now exposes him to crowds, photographs, and confrontations, destroying the privacy and efficiency that private aviation provided. But the symbolic blow is arguably worse. In the world of high net worth individuals, a private jet is not just a vehicle. It is a primary marker of billionaire status. Losing it in such a public, humiliating fashion, having it taken by law enforcement because you can't pay your bills, shatters the carefully cultivated image of unlimited success. You cannot claim to be a titan of industry while standing in line at TSA. This seizure signals to investors, partners, and employees that the financial distress is severe and that the organization is losing its ability to protect its core assets. And this is just the beginning. Creditors follow a rational collection strategy. They target high-value liquid assets first. Real estate is messy and slow to sell, but luxury items like jets, helicopters, cars, and art can be auctioned off quickly. Now that one creditor has successfully seized the jet, the creditor pile-on effect will begin. Other judgment holders will race to file their own writs of execution to seize whatever is left before it's gone. We are looking at a potential systematic liquidation of the symbols of Trump's wealth. His helicopters are likely the next targets. Trump Tower residences owned personally by him could be seized. Even Mar-a-Lago could face challenges, as creditors will argue it is a commercial club rather than a primary residence entitled to homestead protection. The liquidation continues relentlessly until the judgments are satisfied or no seizable assets remain. Smash that like button if you are following the gravity of this situation. This event tests the fundamental proposition of the American legal system. Does the law apply equally to everyone? The answer today appears to be yes. The legal machinery of debt collection is operating against a former president with the same mechanical indifference it applies to everyone else. Warren Buffett's warning about paper wealth has never been more relevant. We are watching a real-time stress test of the difference between claiming to be a billionaire and actually having the liquidity to remain one. As the marshals secure that aircraft and prepare it for auction, the message is clear. Debt is real. Judgments are enforceable, and not even a Boeing 757 with gold fixtures is safe when the court orders come down. We will continue to track the auction of the aircraft and the next moves by the creditors. This is a developing story of financial and legal collapse that is rewriting the book on high-stakes debt enforcement. Stay tuned.